Welcome back to another 128 KB podcast.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Back by lack of popular demand.
But whether you want to hear us or not, you're here, so you're gonna.
Yeah. This is the podcast where we sit down and talk about all things gaming. Basically, it's our excuse just to chat about games.
Oh, yeah.
And sit close to each other rather than on two different channels.
Well, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We've dropped the divide.
That's
Here
it.
we are together.
Yeah, when PlayStation
reveal.
meets Nintendo. But today we've got an interesting topic.
And interesting you say when PlayStation meets Nintendo, because it's kind of like perfectly is the topic.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
Everything in one.
Yes, exactly.
I want us to tackle the thorny issue that is game emulation.
Oh.
Our experiences of it, our thoughts on the current state of emulation, in good and bad, come with it.
Yeah, because we're both physical collectors.
100%. I've got a massive PlayStation collection.
That's an understatement.
I got a massive PlayStation game problem. I've had to, this year, I made a resolution.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy any more retro games.
Yeah, and just focus on the new stuff.
Just get new games that I enjoy playing, and rather than just worry about my collection.
And then one day they'll become retro.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, we've both got different game collection problems, especially retro stuff. You more into Nintendo.
Yeah.
And the Dreamcast as well.
Yeah. And even original PlayStation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me definitely PlayStation and some MegaDrive stuff as well. But that comes with problems, collecting games.
Yeah.
I love having the physical game. It means I've always got access to it. It's there in my hand. I love the cases. I love the artwork. I seldom download games, even for the PlayStation 5. I don't like paying for a download and not having the case, because what happens if they decide to take that access away in the future?
Yeah.
Which is what does happen, as we've seen with the Nintendo Wii, is it?
Yeah.
eShop?
So, yeah, the Wii U and the 3DS eShops this March are going bye-byes.
Yeah.
So Nintendo are going, boop, and that's it, gone forever. So...
Yeah, so you can lose access. They just have to turn off the server, and it's essentially
almost happened with the PS Vita. Then there was such big backlash that Sony actually turned around and went, "Okay, we'll leave them up."
Yeah,
I can't believe they did that. So,
but that won't be forever.
No, of course not.
They'll turn it off eventually.
Yeah, of course they will.
So I always feel like having physical games is the best way for a collector. It's nice, but there's problems with that.
Yeah.
Let's look at cartridges. Let's say our MegaDrive or Game Boy collection.
Yeah.
Cartridges degrade really quickly. Yep. We're now looking, if we're looking at like Sega MegaDrive era, what are we, 30 years after it now?
Easily, yeah.
So there are some old games there. The cartridges are made of plastic and a bit of exposed circuit boards.
Yeah.
It ain't great.
No.
So some games become unplayable.
Yep.
Game Boy games, obviously, everyone knows the issue with the battery inside them.
Game Boy Advance games are savage. If all your save data will go, and some games won't even load up. Most of them will, but then you can never save again because it's the battery that's keeping the save.
So if you're into Pokemon or something,
a
proper RPG, and you need to save it.
Yeah, you can't do it. And if you had 1,000-hour save, from when you're a kid and you load it up and the battery's kaput, well, that's gone. You have to manually open it up, resolder a new battery in, and blah, blah, blah. It's a massive pain.
And so then you jump forward a generation and you look at Dreamcast and you look at Sony PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. Even discs degrade. We all know that they can scratch and become unreadable. But also, all the information's attached to the foil that's on top of the disc. And you read the underside of that. And that can scratch as well, and then it becomes totally unplayable. But also, over time, can degrade and erode. And the discs become unplayable. So having a physical collection is in itself also an issue for future playability.
Yeah. And not even that, even the means of playing them in general, even if you've got the tip-top thing, for example, me with the GameCube.
Yep.
I don't have a CRT TV anymore. So I can't just plug it in and it's all good. I had to buy a Insurrection Industries Carby adapter, which you have to have the DOL001 GameCube, the first iteration with the digital AV output, which then converts. You've got this Carby adapter, and there's other ones on the market as well, but you plug it into the AV on the back, the digital output, and then it will convert it to HDMI.
But even that doesn't work. It has some issues, doesn't it?
Because it doesn't actually output the video files, the CGI stuff and whatever. in the game is at a different resolution than the actual game itself. So often, if I'm trying to play a GameCube game like through my GameCube, I miss all the cutscene bits and it's just black screen, no sound until you're in the game. And if you hit a cutscene, you can't watch it. It goes. Whereas my Dreamcast, I got a cheap adapter from eBay or wherever it was that changes it into HDMI. That's beautiful. I played the whole of Shenmue 1 and 2 on that with no problems. Yeah. But sometimes you run into those issues. So the GameCube thing really bugs me because I can't actually enjoy them correctly.
And then also with physical games, how long's the hardware going to last for?
Yeah.
How many replacement parts or replacement consoles will you be able to get? It's going to be a diminishing number as time goes on.
Yeah, definitely.
So, point being, even collecting physical games doesn't mean you're always going to have access to those games, which is where the idea of emulation is quite nice. A game I own physically, I can then have the ROM version of that and play it on an emulator. I've always stayed away from them.
Yeah, me too.
Because I love physical games. But also, my experience of emulators, I don't know, let's say 20 years ago, and you were emulating old MegaDrive games, it was crap. Let's be quite honest. It was rubbish.
Yeah.
And then as time's moved on, I've always dipped my toe back in. Let's have a look at that emulator. And it's never been that stable.
Yeah.
The games haven't played properly.
No, and it's
controls
really
are janky.
It's really hard to get into. It's not an easy thing to like just, I just boot it up.
No, definitely not.
Like, it's nothing like that. You have to, mount stuff and whatever. And it's just like, oh man, this is so complicated.
Yeah.
And then nobody can tell you about it because it's a bit of a grey area legally.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, then how do I even do this?
Yeah.
Like, I've got the games, so technically I'm allowed to have ROMs of them. Do you know what I mean? It's not like I'm downloading games that I don't own already, a physical version of. So it's just,
there's some proper legal grey areas with it.
Yeah.
Obviously, having emulations of games that you don't have the license or you haven't bought, that you can't do.
That's a no-go. Yeah, that's illegal.
Technically, distributing ROMs for other people to use is a no-no as well.
Yes, yeah. That's also illegal. Yeah.
So you need to be able to make the ROMs. Technically, you need to be able to make the ROMs, or perhaps you find them.
Yeah.
Like Magic.
Yeah.
I just found them and I own that game.
In the post.
Yeah, perhaps. Maybe. Maybe on a Google search, you just find it by accident.
Yep.
You've downloaded it, but you own the game anyway.
Yeah.
Now I can play it.
Yeah, that's it. Or if you're like me and I've got the Game Boy operator, then we've got, a method of extracting the ROM itself from the cart. So from a Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance game, you can literally put the cartridge into the Game Boy operator and extract the ROM yourself from your own game onto your PC, and then you can put it into an emulation device like this.
I just want to say to the people that made the Game Boy operator, I'm very sorry. You sent us a Game Boy operator about 6 months ago, and we promised to make a video about it. And we will. We will, just once we've got to grips with it.
Yes.
Basically, they sent it to us, and we're like, yeah, sweet, okay. And there's not ever been the window of opportunity to dedicate the time to make a proper video about it. Because it is a thing.
It's a bit more of I didn't want to rush it.
No.
I didn't want to just be like, look at this.
And that's our excuse, and we're sticking with it.
Yeah,
so,
that's it. Yeah.
Whatever. But emulators of the past were rubbish. That was my point.
Yeah.
Now, 2023, I've seen quite a lot of other big YouTubers talking about specifically handheld emulators that are actually really good.
Yeah.
So I reached out to one of these manufacturers.
Yep.
I get the name right.
Anbernic. Yeah.
And they sent us the RG353M.
Well done. I liked the reading out there. That was very
just off camera. The box. The box is right here. There's no way I was going to remember that.
Which is this just here, which is the 353, but the metal version.
That's what the M stands for, obviously. That's good to know. And it makes emulation, I'm not going to say fun again, but it makes it good. Yeah. Firstly, as a physical handheld, if that was just a standalone console of some kind, it's really nice. The form factor, the metal chassis.
Build quality and everything is stunning.
Screen is gorgeous.
Like, absolutely stunning. Like the whole thing as like a piece of machinery.
Yeah.
If this launched like when the Game Boy Advance came out.
Yeah.
Like this is like even nicer than like a PSP or something like that in terms of like, it's solid metal. It's beautifully CNC'd.
The buttons are nice.
It's got Hall effect joystick sensors so they can never drift.
Amazing. HDMI out. Stick it through your telly. Bluetooth connection for your controllers.
8 controllers, I think it is.
Amazing.
It's USB-C. You can actually there's an OTG port, so you can actually put like a separate hard drive, or you could plug a keyboard and mouse in, or whatever you want. It's insane. You've got volume on the side. It's dual boot, so it comes with Linux like in it as well as Android. So you can choose how you want to emulate, and of course you can have your own operating system. We've got it stock at the minute, but there are like Gelos, I think it is JELOS, as well as another one I can't remember, and another one Anbernic, something like that. There's different operating systems that you can put on, and that everyone recommends to. But I've kept it stock.
As a piece of machinery, it's beautiful. If we skip past the bit I want to get to, which is the headache.
Yeah.
Playing emulations of the games that we've got on it, it's phenomenal.
Oh, it's so fun.
I didn't want to like it because I love physical games.
Yep.
I hate the idea of not doing the whole process. Open the CD and
Yeah.
It's a little bit better.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it. It's a bit more enjoyable.
It's
easier.
complementary, isn't it? Like if you're not in your safe space where your games are and you're going to have a nice, like, I'm going to sit down and enjoy this here. If you're out and about on a train ride or wherever you might be, on a plane, this, you can have your entire collection with you without having to swap anything. You just 2 micro SD cards on the bottom, one for the operating system, one for your games, and you're away you go,
So it's really very good. Really great emulation of up to PlayStation 1 era.
Yeah, this one in particular, which is like the 4:3, aspect ratio, which is the 3:3. This does PlayStation 1 really well, and it does Dreamcast as well. So that's like where you're going. You're not doing GameCube or anything. That's the next model up, which I can't remember the model number of. But this is up to PlayStation 1 and Dreamcast.
But in truth, when we're talking about emulating, I would argue that beyond PlayStation 1, it becomes unmanageable anyway. The sizes of the games.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was to try and have an emulation of my PlayStation 2 collection.
Oh, yeah. Well, you need a really high-powered device straight away. So you'd be looking at like Steam Deck territory.
I've got about, I want to say 500 or 600 PlayStation 2 games.
Yeah.
I'd hate to think what the file sizes of that is.
You'd probably need like close to 1 terabyte, maybe 2 terabyte. So again, Steam Deck territory. Installing
all of those, it would take you weeks.
So long. And if you think of manually extracting the ROMs on every game,
it'd be ridiculous. And I guess that leads on to the downside of it. It's a great emulator. The gameplay experience was amazing. I didn't want to like it as much as I did, but I really did.
Yeah, it's good.
Setting it up isn't without problems, though.
Oh,
it is
for somebody like us, where we've not grown up in emulation for the past 20 years, and they're not like heavily into it. That's just gone like, oh, I'm going to buy one of these. You don't do that.
Let's do this.
Yeah, you don't just go out and buy an emulator because it ain't going to work. You need to spend a lot of hours researching what you're going to do.
So it went like this. It arrived at the studio. I opened it and went, oh man, it's nicer than I thought it was. I opened what was installed, and there was nothing on it.
Yeah,
it was just empty, and I was like, "It's just Android. That's weird." I googled it, and it was like a setup. So then I went, Andy, can you set this up?
And then I spent probably close to about 60 hours trying to figure out what I was doing.
So as I said, loads easier than having a physical collection.
Yeah. And even then, that's not without problems. I've not even mastered it fully yet. No. I've cracked the surface. I know how to get it running.
Yeah.
Because this came blank. There was no BIOS files. There's nothing because, reasons. And also the people that tell you, there's brilliant YouTubers out there, brilliant guides that show you how to do stuff. But again, because of the grey areas, they can't show you how to the actual meat and potatoes of it. Get it to run.
Where do I get that BIOS file?
Yeah, from? How do I actually do this? You're kind of like chasing shadows, and it is difficult. But I got there in the end.
Yeah.
And the outcome is really good, but then you're still going to be riddled with the odd crash.
Yes,
Some
of course.
save files might not work.
Yeah.
But save files do work. Like, and you just save them. You don't create like a restore point or anything in the system. It actually, you just save the game in the game and it works. So there is some really cool things about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you still get crashes. The amount of times I've had crashes playing through, especially like an RPG, and I haven't saved yet, and I'm 45 minutes in and the thing crashes and I have to hard reset it. That's kind of frustrating. You know, you wouldn't get that necessarily on an original bit of hardware that's been well maintained.
Yeah, but okay. I'll just remember being young.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't that long ago. And
Last week.
I remember corrupt file saves on the PlayStation 1. Your memory card just corrupt the file save. Yeah. And it's just unreadable. Or the PlayStation crashing, not loading beyond a certain sequence.
I remember GameCube games that used to do that to me.
It did happen. I mean, it's quite a marvel when you think, like, now it just doesn't happen at all.
No,
I mean,
really.
What's going to go wrong? Yeah, your hard drive might corrupt if you don't shut down properly all the time, or you're moving it around a lot.
Still a much less chance than there was back in the day.
Games seldom crash now on consoles. Seldom.
And it's usually due to like manufacturing fault. Do you know what I mean? Like the game developers have
it's a bug.
Not polished it enough. Yeah, it's not like a hardware issue or anything.
Yeah. So even getting issues of that kind with that, you probably get them more frequent than you would on original hardware. But you did get those and still do get those issues on like original PlayStation or Dreamcast.
But the other thing,
authentic.
yeah, definitely. And the other thing is there's some games that don't run great. So it'll be like a quarter of the FPS and the game's just juddering because it's just not like, I don't know if it's the emulator that's not like configured right, and it will jug, you know, like you can play PSP games on this, I think. Not tried it because they're more demanding.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been some issues, but again, I'm a total noob still, even though I've sank a lot of hours researching into this and we've got it to a state where it's actually enjoyable.
So
you know?
I'd say emulation's not for the faint-hearted.
No.
It's not for the casual gamer at all. And it's not for people that don't have a pretty large collection of games already, because it's not worth it if you don't. Yeah.
You need to be committed to the preservation of your collection.
Yeah.
And so just games in general.
That leaves me with the final kind of question is like, is emulation the best way to preserve games, or is the physical collection still the king?
No, that's difficult, isn't it? It really is difficult to say.
I'll say this from a player's experience, from a purely, I'm just going to play it. Being able to just load a bit of modern hardware, have it through my telly if I want with a nice controller, and play cool borders too, like we just did.
Yes,
that's really cool. And I can just do it like that, and it's done. Whereas if I want to play the PlayStation 1 version, there's more steps involved. It's a bit more laborious.
Yeah, and again, it's just the convenience, isn't it?
Super convenient.
Like, you could rock around to your friend's house, plug this into your telly, and have hours of fun.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, otherwise you'd have to invite them over to your physical collection and all this, that, and the other, you know. And you're going to, every time you take them out of the case, you're potentially going to damage it.
Yes.
Whereas this, you're not really, you know, like... So it's difficult. I mean, for me, I would still prefer if Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, all those people just opened up the floodgates of their vaults and let all the old stuff be playable, whether it's free or for, like, you know, go and purchase them for a cheap price.
Yeah.
But the thing is that's the problem, is because they don't remake every game, because they don't let you play every game, they will get lost to time as well one day. And that's why we're all forced to go down this route effectively, which is sad. Because I would much rather be able to, you know...
Well, I'll say the new PlayStation Plus subscription service, one of the big selling features was they have this classics section.
Yeah, but there's not even that many on there.
It's utter trash.
Yeah.
And this is from a PlayStation fan who collects old PlayStation games. Yeah. It's just missing entire parts of the history.
And it's just random. Like,
really random.
Some of the games I'm like, what even is that?
Yeah. So from like obscure stuff just to pad it out, which kind of reminds me a lot of the Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, subscribe to our Nintendo Switch Online and buy the expansion pass, and we'll release one game a month. that's just totally random. And they haven't even released one this year yet.
No.
I think the last one was November. So there's been 2 months where Nintendo haven't even released.
I'm willing to bet money that Nintendo just forget about it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But it's just
But yeah,
annoying.
the PlayStation version is awful, just awfully underserved. It's rubbish. And how much of an open goal is it to someone to step in and go, right, I'm going to create an app that's licensed by Sony for PlayStation. And through time, I'm going to emulate every game within that app that's been released on PlayStation.
Yeah.
And you have to pay for the game and like the app that's a game.
Yeah.
So it's like then it becomes a built-in emulator on the PlayStation system.
Yeah.
How hard could it realistically be?
It would just be time, wouldn't it? They would need to build an entire new team.
Yep.
And just sit them down and go on and like get the back catalogue, which is kind of what Steam are doing with the Steam Deck.
So, yep, it definitely is.
But with like all the Steam games need to be tested. Is it verified? Is it playable? Is it unsupported?
So it's obviously worth it for Steam.
Yeah.
It's obviously for Valve, sorry.
Yeah,
it's obviously worth it for them.
Yeah.
And I would say that and I guess that was my point. If it's worthy enough for PlayStation to try it as a sellable feature for their premium subscription, surely that shows them or is telling them that it's worthy.
And surely they're making enough profit out of that for them to get a new team in to then get more people on board.
And how much would you pay for that service?
That's the other thing, isn't it? Because for you, it's not worth it because you already got the games.
Yeah.
You've already paid for those games.
But here's the stupidity. That's why I quite like the idea of emulation.
Yeah.
I would probably buy it.
Yeah.
Because I love having the cases and stuff and cool, but also it's a lot easier on my PlayStation 5.
Yeah, you just got to load on the hard drive, away you go. Yeah, so I think where I'm going with this is I'd rather have an official way.
Yes.
Official support.
Yes.
Where you don't have to run into games glitching.
Yeah.
Don't have to run into crashing and stuff like that because you've maybe programmed the emulator wrong, which is definitely what I've done. If you could just load up Nintendo Online, Switch Online, you know, and go bam, and there's 1,000 games that you used to love and you can just hit it and it works. Yeah, I'd pay for that.
Of course you would.
But that's not an option. They're never going to do it, especially to a big extent. Because we've just seen with PlayStation, you know. The other thing, Xbox is, we haven't touched on this because neither of us play Xbox because I'm a PC gamer and a handheld gamer. You're a PlayStation gamer and Nintendo as well.
Yeah.
But Xbox did the best way round. If you've got your physical games for old titles, you put the original disc in the new Xbox and it will play like an HD remastered version. It will download it from the shop. It will read the license off the disc and it will download it. And you can play that there and then. So Xbox have won. Xbox have done it correct. Not every game's supported, but a lot of them are.
And I just argue that it's just a really important thing. I feel quite strongly about it to preserve video game history. It's actually an important part of our culture.
Yeah, it's art.
Yes.
Imagine getting like the Mona Lisa and just burning it.
Well,
like
it's as important to people as movies are. Probably more than a lot of movies. But imagine if we were just resigned to going, yeah, those films are on VHS. Star Wars was on VHS.
Yeah. I actually have the VHS.
Probably won't bother making it for DVD.
Yeah. Just letting it die out.
Probably let's not put it on Disney. There's no point.
Yeah.
Just let it go.
Just forget about it.
No, they're like, every time there's a format change, we're going to make sure it's released for that format.
Yeah.
So why is it not the same for games?
Exactly.
And then we wouldn't have to worry about like the grey areas of I've got the game, I can have the ROM, or I've got a program that probably a licensed way of doing it. I think that would be the best way forward.
Definitely. I think the issue is there's just too much of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a big task.
There's so many games over the course of the years.
I know PlayStation 2 was the console with the most titles, and I believe it's got 1,500. So it's not for Sony.
For physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that bad for Sony.
Yeah.
Like you're talking like a couple of thousand titles.
Yeah.
There's a lot of testing.
Yeah, true.
But quite often games beta testers aren't paid because it's like hyper fans that want to play.
Yeah, that want to.
And they're all happy to feedback.
And that's basically what emulation is, isn't it?
Yes.
It's because of fan base that have then gone out and made these emulators to be able to cope with it because people like us want to play their favorite games without them disappearing into oblivion.
So, but until then, I think we have stumbled upon probably the best way of easily continuing playing your favorite games. And things like the Anbernic are that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we've kind of changed our attitude, because a few years ago we were both like, nah.
Yeah. Never.
No emulation. We're physical only, like original only. That's it. Whereas now we're swayed into actually emulation can be good.
Yeah.
And it can be worth it.
I just think it's because it's evolved too much to the point where it's now actually good.
Yeah.
When it wasn't before.
Yeah. It's still a bit gatekeepery to get into.
Yeah, of course it is, yeah.
Because there's so many gates that you're going to run into.
Yeah.
But if you can find your way through them and you're persistent enough, it's possible.
I guess that about wraps it up,
yeah.
Andy.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks for joining us on this little rant about emulation. It turned into a bit of a soapbox.
Yeah, it did, yeah. But let us know what your thoughts are. Do you feel like us? Do you have, you big games collections or anything? Like, we'd love to hear down in the comments.
Do you think the publishers and the license holders should do an officially licensed way of doing this?
Yeah.
Do you think it's worthy like we do?
Yeah.
Let us know. So. If you're listening to this on any of the podcast platforms like Spotify, make sure you rate the podcast, because that really does help us out and it makes Andy smile. And of course, we will be doing this again soon. But if that's too long for you to wait, and you're really bored, then why not watch
AJ's PlayStation videos up the top here? Yeah. And if you want to see some more of my face,
and you're really, really bored, then click on this one here, because it's probably about something to do with Nintendo.
Possibly, yeah.
And until the next time,
bye.